Good evening, and welcome to the November 2nd, 2021 regular meeting of the Gary Common Council. As is our custom, we'll begin with prayer by Councilman at Large, Ron Brewer, and then he will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilman Brewer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Shall we pray? Eternal God, we come today, oh God, to say thank you. Thanking you for allowing us to see a day that we have never seen before. We thanking you for allowing us to have the activities of our limbs and to be in our right mind. Lord, as we assemble for this Gary Common Council meeting this November, Lord, we ask that you will bless us, oh God. Bless us to make sound decisions for the betterment of this great city. We ask, oh God, that you will bless every council member, bless the mayor, bless every city worker, oh God. Bless the citizens of Gary. We ask that you continue to keep us and watch over us in your son, Jesus' name. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Brewer. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins.
Pass for now.
Councilman Brewer.
Here.
Councilwoman Brown. Present. Councilman Brown.
Here.
Councilwoman Caldwell.
Here.
Councilman Lay.
Present.
Councilman Weatherspoon.
Present.
Councilman Williams.
Present.
Councilwoman Atkins. President Godwin.
Present.
Mr. President, there is 8 present, 1 absent.
With 8 members present and 1 absent, we have a quorum to conduct the business of the Gary Common Council. Council members, before you are the minutes. We'll start with our October 19th, 2021 meeting. Is there a motion to approve said minutes?
So moved, Mr. President.
Been moved by Councilman Brewer. Councilman Williams, you need to mute yourself.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved by Councilman Brewer and seconded by Councilman Barnes Caldwell. Any questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Brewer.
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown. Councilwoman Brown. Councilwoman Brown.
Yes.
Councilman Brown.
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell.
Yes.
Councilman Lay.
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon.
Yes.
Councilman Williams.
Yes.
And President Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. President, vote is 8-0.
With a vote of 8-0, the minutes of our October 19, 2021 meeting are approved. Council members, you have before you minutes of our October 25th, 2021 special meeting. Is there a motion to approve said minutes?
So moved, Mr. President.
Been moved by Councilman Brown and Councilman Brewer. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Councilwoman Brown. Any questions or discussion? I do have one. On page 5, 4 paragraphs from the bottom. Says Councilman Brewer moved to amend CPO 2021-73 by reducing the animal control line item of $40,000 to $35,000. It was seconded by Councilwoman Caldwell. Roll call showed a vote of 9 ayes and 0 nays. The chair declared this motion duly passed. I thought the vote was 8-1. Councilman Lay, you voted against that, right?
No.
You voted for it?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know why I thought it was 8-1, but Okay, but on the move from 40,000 to 35,000, you voted yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. 43, I just wanted to confirm that. Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Right. Seeing and hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Brewer,
Mr. President,
So just a second, Madam Clerk, Councilman Brewer.
Mr. President, acknowledge Councilman Atkins.
Yes,
Present.
please note that Councilwoman Atkins is present. She is setting up her Zoom as we speak. All right. Please proceed, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins,
Pass for now.
Councilman Brewer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell,
Yes.
Councilman Lay,
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon,
Yes.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
Councilwoman Atkins,
Right.
Go ahead.
She said yes. I'm not sure whether it's,
Can you confirm again, Councilwoman Atkins?
okay. President Godwin.
yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 9-0.
With a vote of 9-0, the minutes of our October 25th, 2021 special meeting are approved. Right. Assignment of council pending ordinances and resolutions on first reading.
CPO 2021-84, an ordinance amending Title 15 entitled Land Usage, Chapter 123 entitled Zoning Code of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Gary, Indiana, for the property located at 4921 through 31 West Fifth Avenue, petitioner Robert Drain, property at 4921 to 31 West Fifth Avenue, Gary, Indiana.
Planning and Development.
CPO 2021-85, an ordinance amending Title 15 entitled Land Usage, Chapter 123 entitled Zoning Code of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Gary, Indiana, for the property located at 2768 Colfax Street, petitioner Amelia Tofalo, property at 2768 Colfax Street, Gary, Indiana.
Planning and Development.
CPO 2021-86, an ordinance by the Gary Common Council establishing the holiday schedule for the City of Gary in the calendar year 2022, sponsored by members of the Gary Common Council.
Finance.
CPR 2021-14, a resolution for the City of Gary, Lake County, Indiana, approving prior year adjustments to reconcile certain fund ledger balances and bank statements, sponsored by Mayor Jerome A. Prince, City of Gary, Malik Harper, City Controller.
Finance.
Mr. President, ends assignment of pending ordinances and resolutions.
Mr.
Thank
President,
you, Councilwoman Atkins.
Mr. President, if appropriate, I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules and add 2 additional ordinances to be considered on first reading today.
All right, thank you. Please proceed.
I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules and add the following ordinances to today's agenda: CPO 2021-78, which is an ordinance approving a transfer of funds within Fund 101601 for the purpose of payment for employee bonuses, and also CPO 2021-88, which is an ordinance for the City of Gary, Lake County, Indiana, authorizing additional appropriations for the American Rescue Plan Act Fund, which is Fund 176. And this is for the payment of 2020 premium pay for the Gary Sanitary District employees. Both of these ordinances are sponsored by our mayor, Mayor Jerome A. Prince, as well as the city controller, Mr. Malik Harper.
Just a clarification, the first one is 87.
Correct.
Okay. All right, if this time, is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to add both CPO 2021-87 and CPO 2021-88. Any questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Brewer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown, Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell,
Yes.
Councilman Lay,
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon,
Yes.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
and President Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 9-0.
With a vote of 9-0, CPO 2021-87 and 2021-88 are added. Would you like to read those now for first reading?
CPO 2021-87, an ordinance approving a transfer of funds within Fund 101-601 for the purpose of payment of employee bonuses, sponsored by Mayor Jerome Prince, City of Gary, Malik Harper, City Controller.
Ways and Means.
CPO 2021-88, an ordinance for the City of Gary, Lake County, Indiana, authorizing additional appropriations for the American Rescue Plan Act Fund, Fund 176, for the payment of 2020 premium pay for certain Gary Sanitary District employees, sponsored by Mayor Jerome Prince, City of Gary, Malik Harper, City Controller.
Ways and Means.
Mr. President, ends assignment of pending ordinances and resolutions.
Thank you. Councilman Brewer.
Mr. President, is it all right if I do vote for plan development together?
Without objection, please proceed.
Mr. President, plan development has before CPO 2021-84 and also CPO 2021-85. I approve this to be reporting out. Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. President, majority of the Planning and Development Committee has approved CPO 2021-84 and 85 to be reported out on first reading.
Thank you, Councilman Brewer. Councilwoman Brown. Unmute yourself. All right. Unmute yourself. There you go.
CPO 2021-85, 86, I'm sorry, 2021-86, and 2021, CPR 2021-14. For the record, I approve this ordinance and this resolution for reporting out to the council. Councilwoman Atkins
Yes.
and Councilman Godwin. Oh, Councilwoman Barnes Caldwell.
Yes.
Mr. President, the majority of the Finance Committee has approved CPO 2021-86 and CPR 2021-14 for reporting out to the council.
Thank you, Councilwoman Brown.
Mr. President,
Councilman Lay.
if now is the time, on 2021-86, they have made it at the very bottom, New Year's Eve, January 2nd, 2023, and they've made New Year's Day 2023 as well as Tuesday 2023. Obviously, they both should be, all of that should be changed to 2022. I assume the Monday and the Tuesday are correct.
All right. Do we want to wait till we get to third and final?
Well, I
amendment?
I was suspecting though that there may be a motion to pass this on all three readings. Is there anything to discuss here?
I think that's going to come after once we get to probably second reading or third and final. Probably second reading, because it'll pass on second reading, and then a motion will likely be made to do that, and then we can make the amendment then.
That's fine.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? And you may, Mr. Attorney Jenkins, I'm not sure if you prepared that, or Attorney Lockett may want to take a look at that, so when we get to that part of the meeting, we can be ready to make the appropriate changes. All right, if there's no other questions or discussion, then we will move to Councilwoman Atkins.
Mr. President, is it okay if I do both ordinances together?
Without objection, please proceed.
Mr. President, the Ways and Means Committee has the following CPO numbers before it. CPO 20.
Councilman, point of order, Mr. President.
Councilman Brewer.
They're taking care of the issue right now. He's taking care of it right now.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. President, the Ways and Means. Okay, on the top. Mr. President, the Ways and Means Committee has the following CPOs before it: CPO 2021-87 and CPO 2021-88. For the record, I approve these ordinances for reporting out to the council. Councilman Mike Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Linda Bars Caldwell.
Yes.
Mr. President, for the record, the majority of the Ways and Means Committee has approved both of these ordinances for reporting out to the council.
Thank you, Councilwoman Atkins. Councilman Brewer.
Mr. President, Plan Development would like to report out CPO 2021-84 and CPO 2021-85 on first reading.
Thank you, Councilwoman Brown.
Mr. President, Finance Committee would like to report out CPO 2021-86 and CPR 2021-14.
Thank you, Councilwoman Brown. Councilwoman Atkins.
Mr. President, the Ways and Means Committee would like to report out CPO 2021-88 and CPO 2021-87. Sorry, I said that out of order.
Thank you. This time, that concludes our assignment of council pending ordinances and resolutions on first reading. I think she has, I call him Mr. Tom, who's also joining her. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tom Dockich, and Burgess and I are here to talk about the GIVE program. Thanks for giving us a couple of minutes to address you. So the GIVE program is a guaranteed income validation exercise. It is an important part of the future of the way that a bunch of people believe that income parity and income redistribution and poverty can be eliminated. For those who are unfamiliar with the axiom, it is essentially a guaranteed income program. It's been floated for 100 years in the United States. We've been talking about doing these sorts of things. It's been tried at various times. And in your packet here, council members, you'll see you'll see two items. The first one is an article from Milton Friedman, of all people, who is generally acknowledged to be as important economist as there has been in the history of the United States. And the second, talking about why guaranteed income is an important part of, or should be an important part of the fiscal policy of the United States. And then the second one is an overview of the program. This program is funded by the Mayor's Initiative. It's the National Foundation of Mayors for Guaranteed Income. It is a program that's rooted in Dr. King's legacy. There have been enough people and enough mayors around the country that have gone through this. A few weeks ago, we sent you over an article from Time Magazine that talked about how this program and guaranteed income is part of the future. What we're proposing is that Gary be in the leadership of this. This concept is coming as a national program, and Gary, Indiana, because Burge is such a rock star, is now in a position to be a leader in this, taking money from other parts of the country and putting it over here. We're in our 6th month of gift distribution, and Burge, why don't you talk about what we've done so far?
Great. Thanks, Tom. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Council President Godwin and the council members for allowing us this moment. It is this pilot and this program is actually very important to the city of Gary. What we have seen so far during the first 6 months of this program is individuals going back to work, 37.5% out of the 125, 4% were able to get their cars fixed so they can make it to work. 24% were unbanked. Now they actually have bank accounts and they are now in spending programs where they can boost their credit. 2.4% have enrolled in higher education. They're actually enrolled at our IUN right here in the city of Gary. And 64% of these individuals on both sides are taking advantage of the Money Matter courses. 4% have opened up new businesses right here in the city of Gary, and our families, your constituents, have been able to take their families on vacations for the very first time. Now, our recipients, there's two groups. There's 125 in the control group. That is a group that is receiving the $500 a month for 12 months. And there's 156 in the treatment group. And they are the ones that are doing the surveys that are letting us know how these resources are working for them, although they're not receiving the $500. The other thing is, right here in the city of Gary, we are just spotlighting and bragging about our city, allowing individuals to take these funds to actually change their whole story. So what they're doing is utilizing these funds to actually break poverty off their families themselves. We don't have to go in and hold their hands, tell them what to do. These are gifted individuals that had dreams, individuals that only needed a few dollars to make their dreams a reality. And they are doing that with the dollars from this GIVE program. Now we are looking to partner with our council. We're looking for us to work collectively together and making sure that all the recipients that live in your zip codes, that live in the city of Gary, that's taking part in this initiative, are getting the support that they need. The wraparound services that we offer are free, and they're coming from IUN, they're coming from the Urban League, NAACP, they're coming from Horizon Bank, Centier Bank, and then of course Work One, and everyone is giving to give to make sure that our recipients have success. We want them to have success after this pilot is over, not just during. Does anyone have any questions so far? Not yet?
Thank you, Ms. Peoples. Are you still, you have more presentation?
Yes.
Okay, please proceed.
Okay. So how this rolled out, I contacted Mayor Tubbs, the former mayor of Stockton, California. They were doing, as Tom mentioned earlier, they started their guaranteed income pilot in 2018. They have had awesome success with their pilot. So in 2019, I started looking and researching this particular pilot for us, for the city of Gary. What I didn't want to do is corner us into a pocket of who we will serve. So I spoke with Mayor Jerome and talked to my board, and we decided we wanted to spread the net, have a wide net. So for us, we have residents of the city of Gary. They have to be 18 years of age or older and at a median income of $35,000 or less. So we didn't choose anybody in this pilot. We outsourced that to the Guaranteed Income Research Team in Pennsylvania. So they took a mailing list that they got themselves. They sent that the mailers out. What we were able to do from that list that they sent out, people applied. Those that applied, those names were sent to us, and those were the ones that they were selected through their lottery system to become members and participants of this program.
So the only way that anybody would know the identity of anybody in the program is if that person told us. We know where it's going. We know the bank accounts that have been set up in order to make it such that we can add value to it, but there's no tracking here. There's no additional cornering of documents or anything along those lines.
Yes. And so for right now, that is all I have. Do you guys have any questions for me or for us?
Thank you so much, Ms. Peoples and Mr. Dockich, for that presentation. Questions from council members?
Mr. President,
Councilman Brewer?
thank you. And thank you, Ms. Peoples, for the presentation for the GIVE program. Couple of questions. When your program initially started up, how much money did it take to get your program started?
I was able to secure a grant of $500,000 to get us started.
So what would you need, and well, how long does that run for?
Well, we're close to the end because we're in our 6th month. So we will need 400,000 more additional dollars to complete the pilot.
And that takes you pretty roughly, what, another
Another 6 months. It'll
Another
end
6
it
months.
because,
It
yeah,
will end it. Okay.
yes.
So additional 400,000. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions from council members?
Yeah, Mr. Sheriff.
Councilman Brown?
Thank you. I saw, Ms. Peoples, I saw you on Channel 7. They did a special on the work that you've been doing with this program, and I understand there are other programs as well throughout the country. Could you kind of give us some input about some of the other communities, what they're doing, and also if this was to be funded an additional 6 months, what happens after that? Is there a need for additional funding, or is that it for that program? I mean, where do the
So-
people go after this next 6 months? Yeah, thank you.
So for the first part, there are probably 60 other cities that are involved in a guaranteed income. And out of that 60, I think is maybe 40 that are actually doing a pilot. Now, the one in Mississippi, they are working with moms and low income housing, and they're doing very well. There's one in Minnesota, they're working with college students. So everyone they have the same idea, but they're doing it with different groups. Yeah, so they actually, everybody is doing very well with their pilots because they're seeing some of the results that we're seeing. The only difference with ours is we have a broader group of people that we're working with because we made it all inclusive. Now, as far as once the dollars are gone after 6 months, that part of the pilot will end, but the surveys and the data research will not. So we will not need further dollars after that.
And if I can interject here, one of the things that Burgess set up was the Money Matters classes at Centier Bank. There are some of those, most of those, I think 60 communities are not doing Money Matters, aren't doing education programs for how to set up a bank account, manage a bank account, work through a checking account, all that sort of thing. And we're having almost two thirds of our people are going through that, which is a little differentiator between Gary and most of those other communities.
And to include, the majority of the other pilots are not given the resources that we are. We have been afforded great opportunities to give resources to our recipients so they can have the success that they're having.
Mr. President, one more question.
Councilman Brown?
Thanks. So, we funded, if it's funded another 6 months, then the program ends. Statistically, what usually happens with all those stats and those people? Because as you know, years ago, in the 70s, 80s, there were federal programs. And generally at the end of those programs, people were like, what do we do? So is there a plan B that even if the funding stops, is there a piece in place to find them employment or get them more education or, just what's next and what's done with the stats? Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Yes, so the stats will be done by the Guaranteed Income Research Team. And they have hired a fellow right here in the city of Gary, which is Tyrell Anderson. The program, in regards of the stat and the data, that goes on until for 18 months. The only portion that is the financial portion of it. But we will be with our people for the extent of this program and then thereafter. What I put together with some of our partners is a 2-year plan to make sure that the ones that have joined the housing programs that want to purchase homes, that they are getting more information, they're still getting support, that they're just not left out there hung to dry. When the beauty of this is, we're able to watch them progress from the first month up until now, from getting into home buyers programs, going back to school, making sure that they have the finances they need for equipment, and especially when they complete some of the trade programs that they've signed themselves up into. So we won't be walking away. We'll be working and walking with them for completion.
All right, thank you. Other questions?
Mr. President, I have
Councilman
another
Brewer?
question, if no one else. How many people are participating in this program? I think you're
There's a
muted.
total of 276. 125 are in the pilot, the actual pilot, where they're receiving the $500 a month, and the others are in the survey portion of the program.
Okay. You answered both of them with the payment, how much? Okay.
So you've alluded to it, and I had the privilege of meeting with Mr. Tom, as well as council member from Munster, Steve, I always say his name, Tulowitz, I think I said that right, who's
Tulowitz,
on
yeah.
the board a couple weeks ago at Jay's Breakfast Club to learn a little more. Can you say more about, obviously I know that the ultimate plan, I read it on Facebook, on the Reimagine page and heard it other places. The main idea here is that you'd like to see us use $400,000 of the ARPA funding to help basically complete this project, right? And
Yes.
so if you could, and you've kind of hinted at it, but globally, if you would, why should this council do that, right? What's the benefit, not just for these individuals who I'm sure appreciate the additional $500. I do have some concerns about how they readjust their lives when that is over, because if you all of a sudden, for some people, that is a windfall, and you start taking on certain obligations. And what if you're not making the $500? You know, you won't be necessarily at the end of the period of the program. But putting that aside, which is just a question that I have, what is the global benefit to the city of Gary from a planning, economic development standpoint?
So the program is intended to promote fiscal understanding and to be better, to create better people's understanding of financial systems. That's the first thing. The second part is from the program's perspective, it's designed to make it such that there's data here to support a universal, countrywide guaranteed income perspective. Now, looking at it in a negative way, there's going to be people who are going to get 12 times $500 and who don't do anything, with it, don't participate in a program or don't open a bank account and all that sort of stuff. And if they choose to do that, that's fine. I mean, people have the right to do whatever they want. But you are correct, Councilman or Mr. President, that's going to stop. I mean, there's not going to be a 13th month of that, but everybody's aware of that and encouraged to complete the questionnaires, to use this money for better promotion, to create a better understanding of what's available.
All right, so the reason why I feel that the council should agree for us to have that $400,000. Number one, these are not just your constituents or my neighbors. These are people that have actually decided that they want to change. They just needed a little help to get there. We all know that things, even change, take dollars. And even with our best efforts at fundraising, to have those dollars will make the playing field a lot easier so we can focus on the benefit of helping the recipients that are in this pilot. They all understand the beginning and the end date. Right now, we're having these one-on-one sessions with them at the 6-month mark to see where they are, what other resources that they need, how else can we help them, what other support can we give them to ensure that they have success at the end of this, and sustainable success. That is the goal. So in order for us to do that, we definitely need the dollars to get it done. I don't want to focus on, just fundraising all the time. I really want to focus on the people and making sure that they have every tool that they need to have the greatest amount of success. For the city of Gary, what it means is you have 125 people sewing back into their communities. When you guys had to clean up Gary, they were out there with their friends and family cleaning up Gary. Anything that's happening with the city, they get involved because they love the city. They take some of the money, they were fixing up their homes, those that own homes. Some of the seniors weren't so stressed out because they actually had money now to purchase their medication without having to make a choice between food or medication. The greatest part of it is putting Gary in a positive light across our nation, showing that not only do we believe in humans, that we treat people with human kindness. And that is what our recipients need. Your constituents are the residents of the city of Gary. So we're grateful to be a part of this. It's a privilege and an honor to do it. But to your question, we really need the dollars to do this work. And if it is there for us to utilize it for these purposes, I see it a win-win for the city of Gary and the recipients.
Mr. President,
Thank you. Councilman Lay?
what's the administrative cost on this program? How much is taken off for administrative cost?
Administrative costs, that's a different account. That was $65,000. The total of the program is $755,000 to run this actual program. 750,000, right? 750,000 is
sorry,
for the
ma'am.
district. What's the
I'm
third?
only talking about the $400,000 that you're asking us.
Oh, none of that will go to an administration. That all goes to distribution for the recipients.
Thank you.
And that's a great question. If I could follow up. So with the 400,000 at 500 persons each, $500, I guess I'm trying to figure out how many people does that cover and for how long? What's the bandwidth of that?
It's covering the actual recipients of 125 for the next 6 months. So if we receive, say, a check on December, those dollars, along with what we have left, will secure funding for the recipients to receive those $500 for the rest of the pilot, which will be at the end of April.
So roughly $3,000 basically per person over the course
total
of
is 6,000.
All right, they've
But
already
we've
gotten
already-
3,000 that you've raised.
Yes.
And then it'll be 3,000 is the balance for the rest of the year.
Yes, sir.
And you're saying 125 people. So that is $375,000.
Yes.
And so the other 25,000, what would that be used for?
We could, well, we have planned to use that to help some of the ones that have bought their new homes, to help some of the ones that have completed their certification program so they can have uniforms, transportation, things of that nature. Because what happened is we found that some of the ones that were selected for this pilot were actually homeless. So they are actually starting from scratch. So they didn't have not a nest egg or anything to rely on. They're relying on these $500. And now that they are involved in educational trade programs, once they complete it, we want to gift them with the uniforms and those things so they don't have to incur that cost and they can start saving money once they start getting paid.
Okay. I would just say, and I'm sure we'll have, just real quick, we'll have a conversation on this once we get to the ARPA projects. But I think, and I have some ideas myself in other cases where I'd like to see us work with existing nonprofits to deliver these dollars to critical constituencies that need them. But I think in every case, I'm going to push pretty hard for performance reports, for some kind of way for us to verify. And nothing against you or your character, let me be very clear, but we're doling out federal dollars. And so I think in all cases, we definitely want to make sure that there's performance reports, reviews, a report that will come back to the city with documentation.
Oh, most certainly.
To support, the use of these dollars. Councilman Lay?
Yes.
Yes, the figures are somewhat escaping me here. 125 people will receive money for how many months if we give it to you? I thought you said the first of the year.
No, they're receiving the dollars for the amount is 12 months. The $400,000 we're asking for will complete the pilot and cover the additional 6 months.
So you're asking us to reimburse someone, right?
No. I've raised $500,000. A portion of the $500,000 went to administration costs and everything else that we needed to do to get this pilot started. The end of this program, there's only 6 months left. With those 6 months, we need the extra dollars to complete the pilot to ensure that there's no hiccups and that the recipients are receiving the dollars in a timely manner.
Okay, let me try it another way. I'm in the program. I'm one of the 125 people. How much money will you actually provide me out of this $400,000? How much?
$500 a month for 12 months, so the total is $6,000.
For the year. So from this $400,000, it would be $500 a month, and it'd be $3,000 for the rest of, for that 6 month.
Yeah, that would be the $3,000, but what is 3,000 times the 125? What's that?
375,000.
Let me just look at it real quick. You said it's 300 for 6 months?
375, sir. 375,000.
Okay, for some reason I'm coming up. Okay, it's 125 people, and you said they're going to receive $6,000 out of the money you're asking us for.
No, sir. They're going to receive $3,000 out of the money we're asking you for.
Okay, so that would be 3,000 times the 125. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr.
So what
President,
happens to the 25,000?
And President Godwin, we understand that there's going to be accountability. We're accountable through the bank. We're accountable through the State Board of Accounts or whatever that is. And those same reports will be given to you. And if you need different reports,
Just let us know.
we will produce those reports.
Mr. President,
Councilman Larry?
what happens to the $25,000? You said there are no administrative costs coming off. What happens to that 25,000?
The $25,000 is budgeted for individuals that have completed trade programs, so we can purchase them uniforms if they need them, to help them have a leg up starting with a new career, assisting them with the ones that purchase homes, assisting them with some of the things they would need for new home ownership, helping them have success for whatever it is they are pursuing.
Okay, are these are people different than the 125 people, right?
No,
They're within the 125 people.
but that's within the 125, but we do
They will
have.
they will get the remaining 25,000.
No, they won't get, okay, they will not get all of the 25,000. We do have 176 in the treatment group. If any of those actually enroll and complete a trade program, we will assist them as well.
Are they Gary residents?
They all are
Yes,
Gary
yes.
residents. Yes, sir.
All are Gary residents. Okay.
Every person's a Gary resident.
And I suppose if they were to leave or stop, I'm sorry, Councilman Atkins.
you want to finish your statement?
I'm sorry about that. But I suppose if they wanted to follow that train of thought, if they were supposed to leave, if they leave, right, over the course of this year, I'm assuming that all who started 5 months ago are still living in Gary. But should they leave and move, I don't know, to Texas or Indianapolis, do they continue to get the $500 or does that cut off?
It cuts off.
Okay,
They have to be Gary residents.
There has to be a Gary resident.
gotcha. And how do you track do they have to come somewhere and check in on a regular basis?
I'll be meeting, I have one-on-one sessions with the recipients that are receiving the dollars. We have Zoom meetings and sometimes in person. With this being the 6-month mark, I'll be meeting with each and every one of them in person. We have our individual meetings to check and see where they are, what they're doing and what the needs may be.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Atkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have one question. This might have came up. I didn't miss the beginning of the presentation, but you all stated that if there's 6 more months through the completion of the pilot of this program. So if we had not received the ARPA funding, what was your continuity plan to ensure that you got through the duration of the pilot?
What we've been doing is writing grants, doing donation drives, working with our faith community to try to raise funds. The only reason we had a small halt is because of the ARPA dollars. But if it wasn't for the ARPA dollars, we would continue to do our fundraising.
It's really hard to raise money in this environment from private foundations and from private individuals. We never anticipated that the pandemic would continue this far.
But at the beginning of the conception stage of this program, you knew you wanted to have it go until April or whenever the end date is, correct?
Yes.
And so was there a plan up front to ensure that you have funding to get through the end point of that?
Yes, there's a plan up front, working with foundations nationwide, actually. And then COVID hit. So a lot of the foundations are strapped, cash strapped. So they send us letters and let us know, hey, listen, we really appreciate what you guys are doing. We want to help you, but we just do not have the funds. So we had a solid plan, at least I thought it was solid, to raise the funds within the first 3 months, and it just didn't happen.
Mr. President,
Councilman Lay?
where did the $500,000 come from?
I raised that, I wrote a grant to the National Foundation of the Mayors with Guaranteed Income, and we were awarded the seed dollars to start the pilot.
The 500,000,
Yes, sir.
single source.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you reapply to them for the balance?
That's a one-time initiative. They only give those dollars one time to the individuals or the organization that earns the grant.
But it was insufficient to do the full program.
Well, it was seed dollars, so it wasn't supposed to complete the whole program. Our contingency plan fell apart during COVID. We had things set up whereas we would write, talk, work, and have donations and all these great things. The plan just fell apart.
What other foundations did you apply to?
Legacy Foundation, NIPSCO Foundation, Lilly Foundation, Knight, several.
And Lilly turned you down?
They didn't turn us down. They did not have the funding at the time. We just reapplied with them, but it's not enough to complete this pilot.
Okay, but how much did you apply? Lilly is rather big. How much are you asking Lilly for?
We asked them previously for $250,000. That was a max for the particular grant that they had out at that time, and that was last year.
And what did they give you?
They didn't give anything. They didn't have. I'm sorry. They didn't give. We did not get awarded those dollars.
Okay, if they awarded them now, you say you're reapplying the $250 million. What would happen to that $250 million?
No, it was. We only applied for $250,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
If
they were going to give it to us, there will be a conversation that we will most certainly have with you guys and let you know we have half of the dollars. We don't need the whole 400 or the 375 or whatever will be awarded.
Well, it's 400. So somewhere in here, you're going to continue to approach foundations. Is that correct?
Yes, we're not going to stop because even after that 6 months for the $500 of distribution takes place, we still have to work with our recipients. We still want to be able to assist them in any way that we possibly can. So for 18 months.
Please forgive me. I may appear to be impolite. My question is sort of a compound question. If you get money from these additional foundations, will you refund that money back to the city of Gary for the $400,000?
Sure. Yes.
And will you keep us informed of the foundations that you're applying to and the results of what they're saying?
Yes, I will.
And that would be refunded.
Yes.
Thank you.
Whatever the dollar amount is, if awarded, we were refunded.
Thank you, Councilman Lay.
Dollar for dollar. That's what I meant. Dollar for dollar.
Yeah. So we received $50,000. We will send $50,000 back to the city of Gary.
Okay.
I appreciate that, but I have concerns around that because, and Councilman Lay's question is pertinent. If you've already expended those dollars through direct service, right, to the individuals, when you get new grant dollars from Lilly or Kellogg or any number of foundations, I would imagine they're not going to want those dollars to go to refund a municipality. They don't give to governments usually. And so
Right.
they're
No,
going
it
to
wouldn't
want
be
to
their
see the,
dollars.
oh,
I'm
man,
sorry,
just
William.
1 second. They're going to want to see the work of their particular dollars. So I don't think you'd be able to use new grant funds to repay old grant funds, if you will.
Okay.
I
So,
would just be cautious about making that commitment.
right, the way I heard him, I thought it was when, say, we get all this at the same time, not thereafter.
Okay,
So you
okay.
guys, yeah, if there's a check cut on December 15th, and then a check came in on December 30th or whatever that dollar amount is, at that time, we return the money that you guys gave us, because we would have those funds coming in, not mucking it up, muddling dollars.
Okay.
That was, I think Mr. Godwin has my question. I didn't see how you were going to do it, but you said you're going to do it. The money will not come simultaneous. In other words, there's going to be a gap. And therefore, when you get that money, you certainly can't give it back to us. At least I don't think you can.
So let me jump in here for a second. And so the key to this is transparency. That being able to say, we believe that being able to say to foundations, regardless of who it is, we talked about Lily, but there's a bunch of them, being able to say to them that the commitment from the city of Gary is this, but the commitment that we've made by mayors for guaranteed income is this, being able, where our hope is that that's going to be able, we're going to disclose all that. We're going to be completely transparent. Our hope is that's going to stimulate some creative and some real interest, because there's real interest in the program of guaranteed income. Our hope is that by saying of this commitment, we're going to be able to stimulate some interest.
When will you release your next grant? Who's in line to receive your next grant proposal?
What grant, sir?
Okay, are you going to be sending out a grant proposal after December the 15th?
No, we're hoping to hear from you guys before then. So
Let's
we
leave
won't
it.
have
Okay,
to do that.
we answer. Are you going, we answer. I'm trying to get to these other foundations the gentleman just mentioned. He said, other than Lily, it's a lot of foundations.
No, there's a lot.
Will you be
There's a
sending
lot of
grants?
foundations out there, but
Okay, yeah, I'm aware of that. Will you then be making requests of those foundations for dollars?
Okay, let's go back to the start. What the mayor's the Foundation for Mayors for Guaranteed Income has put together, has basically gone out and said, we're going to seed money into different communities. So on top of that, they've asked us, primarily Burge, but with people like me assisting, to go and take that seed money and go get additional cash. The city of Gary is part of that as it goes on. So any fundraising that we do is great. We're going to try to do it. But it's as much about trumpeting the program and about the leadership that Gary's got as it is about getting money. If somebody actually comes up with money, that would be great. And we will keep, transparency, we will keep you apprised at all times of anything you want to know about this. But the next generation of this has to be behind any of those efforts, if that makes sense.
No, I'm not sure I follow. Let me ask the question a different way. The next grant proposal you set out, will it indicate that you're somehow trying to reimburse the city of Gary? Will it be in there? You sort of verbally said it would be something like that would be inside of that grant proposal.
I would have to talk with the funder.
Yeah. Do you want it to?
Yeah, if the funder says there's something that we can do, that is something we would do, for sure. But what I would like to do is, what I will do is disclose everything that we do as far as fundraising to make sure that the city knows what we're doing.
That's not my question. Let me tell you what I'm getting at. I'd like to see once you submit that grant, the grant proposal, will it be pretty uniform to all of the foundations, or will it start to vary foundation to foundation? not the money amount, but what you're gonna do with those funds.
Well, as we know, all grants are totally different. There's no cookie cutter grant. So whatever they require of us, that will be. And whatever language I can get in as far as the city of Gary and reimbursement of funds to the city of Gary, I would talk to the funder to get that language put in there. We would disclose that information to the city so you guys are well aware before we even receive those dollars, if that funder allows us to do so.
If I may, I think we could go on for quite a while, but
Yeah.
this is going to at some point be part of an ordinance that I think at least according to Facebook, the administration is going to put forward. And so we've kind of gotten some good questions going, and I hope you all, Ms. Peoples, Mr. Dockage, will take those back and be able to, respond to those. And so when we get to that ordinance in the future, we'll be able to continue this conversation. But this does give us an overview and a sense of what's going on and what the ask will be, which I think is very helpful. If there's no objections, I'd like for us to move forward. And thank you, Ms. Peoples, and thank you, and Mr. I keep saying Dockage, for your presentation. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to continue our special and select. I want to just make a few announcements and a few corrections. I want to make sure people know about Fulcrum Bioenergy. We decided to postpone passing the, project development agreement at our last meeting. And because I was concerned that there had not been enough public dialogue and public input about a project of that magnitude, especially around potential environmental concerns. But they have agreed. I got an email that they're going to have a public information meeting via Zoom on Thursday, November 3rd at 5:30 p.m. And if you need the logon information, please call the council office at 219-881-1315. And so they've already invited a lot of the environmental groups, but everybody should know about a project of this magnitude. November 3rd is tomorrow, Wednesday. So make sure that you have that information. It's at 5:30. I'll be logging on. I encourage all council persons and everybody to be on and to have your questions ready. That's Fulcrum Bioenergy, the jet fuel, trash to fuel economic development initiative coming out of redevelopment. I also wanted to respond narrowly to some of the emails that were sent to the council related to animal control funding vis-a-vis the budget that was passed via amendment by this body last week. And I just want to make a general statement. As litigation was mentioned, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but let me just say this. First of all, I applaud Councilwoman Atkins and really this whole council for digging deep into the budget, not just passing whatever's been put in front of us or assuming that it makes sense, but really going deep into the numbers, not shooting from the hip, but looking at the actuals in terms of what was actually spent by these departments in these categories, not only in this fiscal year, but even in the 2 previous fiscal years. So no changes were made to the budget. No amendments were proposed based on us looking into the sky and thinking about what number we'd like to see. It was based in data. And I think that's very important. As it relates to animal control, obviously we did a substantial raise. I think it's 28%. I tried for more, but we got 35,000, which is tremendous progress from the 27,500 for our animal control officers. On the operations side, yes, there was a cut that was proposed in that amendment to roughly $86,000, which is nearly double what the actual expenditures that we received for veterinary services, spaying, neutering, any other kinds of operational services that the animal control function actually spent. And in past years. So it was based on data. And I think that I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for everybody, but in any of these categories where changes were voted on, reductions were made, I think that as we do every year, we make adjustments to the budget as needed. And I would encourage all departments, not just animal control, but all departments, code enforcement, what have you, to forecast and plan, not wait to the last minute and come rushing saying we got a problem. So if you see that certain dollars are, getting low, and you anticipate the costs are going to exceed the dollars that have been allotted, then you should come before this council next year and make a reasonable request based in data. And I think that this council will be reasonable in responding to any requests, whether it's fuel or what have you. But what we've tried to do is to right-size government based on not what we aspire to do, but on what we're actually doing. We don't have overflowing dollars to put toward everything we'd like to do, because trust me, there's a lot of stuff we would like to fund and see happen in the city, but it's limited resources. So I just wanted to put that out there. There was a lot of emails flowing around. This council made tremendous progress when it comes to animal control, and we know there's more to be done in that area.
Threatening litigation, because if that's the case, I probably will absolutely stay where I am. Or what I might have voted against the budget, so I'm not sure, but not for the reason that they're stating. But I certainly would appreciate a copy of the letter and the name of that attorney that's talking about suing me.
Yes, I will forward all of that to you. I know it was sent, there was a lot of council people on it, and I didn't realize you weren't included. But
I could have been.
Okay, I'll make sure that both are sent.
Yeah, if you give it to Miss Chapman,
Yes.
Whitney, yeah, I'm sure she will get it to me. So I'd appreciate it.
No problem.
And we probably have done more than we should have done if they're talking about suing us. They should have told us what the figure was. They should have sent us this non-suing figure to the council. Yeah, that's what they should have done.
All right. Well, I wanted to just put that out there in terms of, where we stood with that. Also, kind of in that same vein, if I may, and I hate to take up so much time, but I want to be transparent. We got the amendments or changes to the budget, in particular, CPO 2021-73, the salaries, and 74, the operations. We received those yesterday. We also got, obviously, we approved the minutes at the beginning of our meeting, and I wanted to give all council persons, and before I sign it, there are some things I already see, an opportunity to publicly and in our meeting state if there are any corrections to the as amended as of October 25th, 2021 version of the budgets that were sent to us. And I'll start with one, and I'm not, just because I believe the language is different than what we actually voted on. Under the mayor's budget, under deputy mayor, it has parentheses pending litigation. The one we actually voted on says, quote, unfunded pending litigation, unquote. So I don't know why that was changed because the chief of staff says funded pending litigation. So before I sign it, unfunded needs to be replaced back into that parentheses. I think Director of Constituent Services, I believe, was also changed from the version that we had. I think it said Deputy Chief, I guess they inserted formerly Deputy Chief of Staff, but the version that we voted on just said Deputy Chief of Staff. I don't mind that because that doesn't have meaning. To me, it's immaterial, but funded and unfunded to me has material implications, substantive implications. So I want to ensure that reflects what we actually voted on. Are there others from council members related to the amended version that we have been sent? This is the opportunity. It's transparent, open. If there were changes that don't align with your understanding of what we voted to do, per the minutes of the October 25th meeting, I'd like those to be publicly stated so that they can be corrected prior to my signing it.
Mr. President.
Councilman Lay?
What is this funded, unfunded? I thought we, in fact, deleted the deputy mayor's position.
Well, that's what.
Period.
Well, that was my understanding as well. But let me say this, the version that we voted on, right, that we made amendments to, it had in it unfunded. Now, technically, that's what we've already have always, well, since I've been here, what has always been there, because it was never funded. Of course, we know that caused certain problems legally, given the mayor's actions. But I agree that it should not be on the budget at all, because there's no dollar amount assigned to it.
Yeah, I know Mr. Poe tried to raise an issue that I wasn't really clear on. But if we're deciding that we're not funding it and that it should not, in fact, be in the budget, I mean, that's the council's decision. So I don't think it should be there. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, we're gonna look like, it's unfortunate. We went 360 degrees. We back to the same place we were in 2020. I mean, this is sort of ridiculous. It makes literally almost no sense. I certainly appreciate all the work that Councilwoman Atkins has done. I find no fault in that. I wouldn't do it myself. I mean, that's a great deal of work. I think that's the responsibility of the executive branch. And all of my years watching and being part of the council, I've never seen a council person. Matter of fact, I haven't even seen staff do this much work as she appears to be doing. So it's all new to me. I praise her for it. I simply would not do it. But it would seem to me, we said we getting rid of it. We getting rid of the deputy mayor. It's all going to come down to the litigation. The litigation is there. Personally, I think it's going to even go wider than it is at this point, but it's there. So I don't see the plan with all of these words. We funded the chief of staff, and the chief of staff will be counting the sanitary district funds, as I understand it, will be $98,000. That's what my intent was, to ensure that Mr. McCain had no dollar loss. But this back and forth over a title, I mean, the council decided, I mean, we removed, it's just like this other thing. We're going to constantly, people going to threaten us with lawsuits. Well, maybe they're going to have to file some of these things. We just can't keep, at least I don't respond at all to threats. I'm not a good person to threaten. I mean, and I was this way probably when I was about 13 or 14 years old. So whatever we voted on is what should be there, period, Mr. President.
Well, I agree, Councilman Lay. I know that the controller is on, and so some of this was input to the gateway, put into the gateway system yesterday. And I don't know if you scanned this or the ability to make corrections, because it's certainly not what we voted to do, just from a language perspective. But frankly, and there's no reason to have anything present that's zeroed out. Mr. Harper.
Thank you, Mr. President. The information that's entered into Gateway are not by position. It's mostly by dollar amounts. So those dollar amounts that are entered in stayed the same, nothing changed there. In regards to the title and position, I believe Mr. Poe will be able to speak on that.
Yeah, Mr. President.
Mr. Poe.
Yeah, I think the statute is clear. The council can decrease, but it cannot remove positions that are designated. That is a position that is both established by ordinance. It's a position that had previously been in the budget. I don't believe the council has the authority. I know the council does not have the authority to remove that position specifically from the budget as an item. It can zero it out, but it cannot remove it.
Can you
Mr.
state a
Chair.
case? Can you state a case or a statute? I'd like to research that. I'm just curious.
I believe the statute that is the subject of the current litigation is clear. It does not state.
What statute is that?
The 3674. I can't remember off the top of my head, but in that statute, it states the council is well within its authority, and with all respect to the council and all respect to Councilman Lay, that the council is well within its authority to reduce. It does not have the authority to remove positions from the budget.
Mr. Chair,
Attorney Williams.
with all due respect, I empathize with Attorney Poe's position as he has to defend his client, but he's just factually incorrect. The position was never funded. In the past, zeroing out a position was tantamount to removing. Now, I understand, and I think Attorney Lay has expressed that at some point in the future when he was previously on the council, he asked that it be completely eliminated from the budget. But it was understood from the former mayor, Freeman Wilson's tenure, that position was zeroed out. So the council is not increasing or decreasing. The zeroing out of it effectively eliminated it. What the mayor did was take a zero and increase it to 98,000. That is, in my opinion, absolutely illegal. And to now try to turn that on the council and say that the council is engaging in some illegal act is outrageous. And it shouldn't be. That type of games are not necessary. That'll be litigated in court. But it is factually inadequate. The position had been zeroed out for several years prior to this administration. The council did nothing wrong, and the implication is offensive to me.
No, and if I may, Mr. President, respond. I'm in no way trying to be offensive. I'm simply restating what the law is. And and I'm sure Attorney Williams recalls, not that long ago, what we had was a situation where you had the council that was going to start zeroing out a number of positions across the city. They were going to zero out the salaries for them. They could not fire anybody. They could not remove them from their positions, but they were going to zero out them. And so he's correct to the extent that he's using this word effectively removing or eliminating the position, but it's not. You're not effectively eliminating the position. You're effectively eliminating the incentive to do the job, but you cannot remove the job. Ultimately, that position still exists. It's still a valid position both by state ordinance, by state statute and by city ordinance. However, that cannot be removed by just simply removing it from the budget.
And may I ask a question? And let me just say one thing, and I kind of struggle with this. There's a difference between being and you're not the corporation counsel anymore, but you really represent the law department. There's a difference between being the attorney general and being in the office of a legal counsel in the White House. And I think we sometimes get that confused. We are your clients. The common counsel is your client. The executive branch is your client, right? And it sounds to me very often like the corporation counsel acts as a political functionary of the administration, where there's a representation of the administration, but not of the whole city, which includes the council. So you're not the personal attorney for the mayor. And I think that gets very confused in how many of these representations, or how these representations are being made. You're to be neutral. And absolutely. If you're going to say what the law is, say it. But I think you're interpreting very, very broadly and favorably to your position what the law is. I don't think there's any case law saying that the council cannot, by zeroing it out, eliminate a position. I think common sense tells you it does not make sense to include a position that's not funded. I don't think anywhere else in this budget, could be wrong, we have zero beside a position and it's still sitting there. It just makes no common sense. But Councilman Lay.
Yes, with the minor, I agree with Attorney Williams, except one minor correction to what he said. I was not on the council. I was the attorney to the council. And when I suggested, I knew about the statute, this increase and decrease that the mayor could do. I had not informed people. So when they attempted to fund it for $1, my suggestion was to get rid of the deputy mayor's position altogether by putting a zero in it. I never contemplated, even what Mayor Prince has done, I never contemplated anyone attempting to raise zero, but I guess zero is a number. I thought it had to be a positive, some number, a number 1 through 10, not 0 through 10. So what I'm suggesting is that, as I understand the statute, we certainly can get rid of the title, especially in light of the fact that the statute sits there, that we're litigating. In other words, we get rid of the title, the litigation goes on. If the mayor prevails, which personally, again, my opinion, he will not. But in terms of what you can do with this statute, because if it does prevail, the council is useless. I mean, it makes no sense to even have a council anywhere if that is the case. So the corporation council, and I'm not arguing when he did it and what was his position at the time he did it. No, all he can do is give us advice. We can ignore the advice. And therefore, I think to attorneys sometimes, I've never been confused. If you want to do something illegal after I advise you, you're welcome to do so. So again, our suggestion was to remove the title. Mr. Poe raised that during the time we were voting on the budget. The title is gone. The title is gone. Let the litigation go forward. It's there. And let this all be settled in a court. So I don't see nothing to debate now, other than the Attorney General represents both Congress and the president. He's not, that Donald Trump thought he had a private Attorney General. It's same there as here. So no, we have instructed them to remove it. They should remove it. And even when I disagree with the council, if a majority of the council vote, then you will find that I will live with it. I may think it don't make a lot of sense to me, but you must live with it. And so in this case, that should be an amendment or a correction should be sent in by the city. They should correct it and do what the council said.
I agree, and I will sign it when it is removed.
Mr.
Until then,
President.
it will remain unsigned. Mr. Poe?
Yeah, just very quickly. Again, I want to make sure that I'm being clear. I am not in any way, shape, or form trying to take a side in this situation. I've prided myself on the fact that I've stayed out of, I don't get involved with the, the back and forth between any of the political infighting. What I would say is this: what I'm bringing to the council's attention is I don't believe that is, that's simply my legal interpretation. I don't believe that's appropriate method of, of how the budget would work or what the council's authority is with the budget. That's all I'm simply saying. In addition to that, I do think that, by what we would need to do is review actually what was voted on in the previous meeting, because it was my understanding that the vote was to unfund, not necessarily remove. I remember there being a discussion about removal, but I don't remember there being a specific directive that be removed. So I think that may have to be something that the council reviews in the minutes from last time when it passed the budget. But again, I don't think that's a proper method of handling the budget. I know that this was again, this has been a practice that had been brought up in the past before, of zeroing out certain positions, but there's not the ability to remove those actual positions.
Mr. Chair.
Councilman Brown.
Thanks. So I'm a little confused because in my experience as a county elected official, I went before the county council on several occasions, eliminated positions, reorganized, and the council did it without it being an issue. So I'm really confused because if I go before the council and say I need to eliminate 3 jobs, and the county council says, yes, it's done. So I don't see why we can't do the same thing. I think the key thing is I went before the council and worked with them on it. I think the key thing here is we need to have the administration come before us and work with us on these issues so we don't have this debate, so we don't go to court. Because as an elected official, as a mayor or any entity that has to come before a council or commission, that is the responsibility of that elected official to come before this board or county council or state or whatever. Because the only way it's going to get resolved is the process is done right. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Brown. I think it's clear that the intention, the legislative history, is that this body has equated unfunding vis-a-vis this particular position to be removal. That may or may not have been done in the past, but that is the request of the council. Any other questions or discussion related to changes to 73 and 74 that were made based on the amendments done on the floor? Okay, so once this is corrected, I will be prepared to sign it, and then we can move forward. All right. Other council members for special and select.
30 at the Diamond Center, which is located, of course, adjacent to our Railcat Stadium. Also, I wanted to let you guys know that I will be hosting a holiday soiree in conjunction with the proprietor of the Family Life Community Life Center, which is at 565 Massachusetts. That event will take place on Sunday, November the 21st. So that is the Sunday right before Thanksgiving at 2 p.m. So we are asking, you don't have to be a 4th District resident, but just come on out after church at 2 p.m. and join us. We will have, of course, a great meal for you, some giveaways and activities that will go on for that particular event. Again, Family Life Community Center, Sunday, November the 21st. I did want to congratulate the Fire Union Local 359. This past Saturday, they had an amazing event where they did give honor to 16 retirees. So to those 16 individuals, I don't have the list of all your names. I did want to extend my sincere thanks to you for your service to our city, and also to the leadership of the union, President Larry Tillman, as well as Vice President Kevin Benford. You all put on a great event. And so I'm sure my colleagues will probably also mention that as well. We did enjoy attending that and supporting you in that effort. Lastly, I wanted to give a congratulations. We had some great Gary heroes get acknowledged this weekend at the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. As you all know, I'm a former Fisher kid, so when we have additional Fisher kids who get acknowledged at this level, I always want to congratulate my sisters in sports. So one is not a Fisher Kids, but she affiliated. So definitely want to give a congratulations to my sister, Angela Hamblin Blakely, who was a Wallace grad, also former WNBA player. She played for Iowa University as well. So she was inducted this past weekend into the Indiana Hall of Fame. Also, 2 Westside grads was inducted, Danielle McCulley, who's also WNBA former player, as well as Melanie's Bradley Davis, who is an attorney in Atlanta now, but Melanie's also played for Coach Fisher at Westside and was inducted. So congratulations to you 3 ladies. Thank you for being an inspiration to my life as I grew up, and congratulations on your honor. So thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman Atkins. Other members for special and select?
Mr. President,
Councilman Brewer?
I know we talked about a lot of different things that took place in the last meeting, and I did see one thing I just caught inside the minutes here when we talked about the salary increase and or decrease for animal control. I believe it's on the 2nd page. maybe the third page. It is the second page on the back, where it says salary change from 32,000 to 40,000. So each position is now listed at 40,000. I believe that was animal control that we was talking about in that sentence there. It was never at 32,000. That was, I believe, 3%. And that was never the proposed for animal control. It was always more, the 40,000. They never had the 3% increase. So that's incorrect in the minutes. So it really should have went from 27.5 to 40,000. That was the proposed change. So I want to make sure that our minutes is correct too. If there is going to be any type of legal challenge or anything, I want to make sure our minutes is correct.
I guess I would just ask, so are we saying that so we know that the 40,000 was in the as amended, I believe, as of October 25th, right? Or actually, yes, there was several amendments. That was one of them. I thought that they had gotten the 3% in the one we had before the administration made the change to 40. So it was 27.5 as the 2021 base with a 3% proposal. Whatever that number was then changed between then and October 25th to 40,000.
That still would be more than the 3% then. If you went from the 27 to 32, that'd be more than 3%. So the number is not right altogether.
Okay, so you're saying the number on page 2. Well, let me just, Clerk Reynolds, you have a response, or Mr. Harper? Make sure we're all on the same page.
What page is that?
2? That seems early on. You sure it's down to?
It's on the back of page 2. They know that double-sided, so it's really like page 4.
Page 4.
On the October the 19th,
This is the 25th.
Yeah, 25th.
Okay, and what line is that?
It's the top paragraph there on page 4, on the back of page 2.
Okay, Mr. President, that was said verbatim, so that was not a mistake on part as far as the minutes go.
Okay, Mr. Harper. So I'm almost certain everybody got a raise. So the one prior to the one we voted on had to be higher than 27,500. I think in our conversations, we were making the point that it was 27,500 previous to the 3% and going to go up to 40 or go up to 35 or up to 30,900, right? So ultimately ended up being 35,000. I don't know whether 32 had been in the one most previous to the change to 40, which we first got at the October 25th meeting, but had been discussed in the committee the week prior.
Well, I guess the not the controller, but Ms. Reynolds just stated this was just a statement
Right.
that was stated by Mr. Harper. So if it was incorrect, it's just that it was just a statement. So it's not the actual number.
Right.
I just want to make sure that the actual numbers was correct inside the minutes. So if that's a statement, it's just what it is. It's just a statement then.
That's fine.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Other members for special and select?
President.
Councilman Weatherspoon.
Yes, I hope you can hear me. I'm having some extreme technical difficulties. I've had to switch to my phone. But again, I want to echo the sentiments of Councilwoman Atkins as it relates to the Gary Fire Department. I want to offer my congratulations. I heard they put on a wonderful affair this weekend. I was able to send a representative and they told me that they had a fantastic time. So, you know, the next time I do look very much forward to being there. I had to go out of town this weekend and just one of those things, but congratulations to all the retirees there. Also, I would like to offer condolences to the family of attorney Carnell Collins. He is the husband also of attorney Rochelle Moody, who was formerly attorney for the Gary School Corporation. Attorney Cornell Collins also served as an attorney for the Gary Park Board. So I believe that services will be this weekend. I do not have the full details, but I believe they will be Friday. I'm sure they can be found in the obituary in the paper. But again, condolences to that family. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Weatherspoon, and I was not aware of that. We used to operate in the same building on Lake Street when he was practicing law there. Sorry to hear that. Thank you for letting us know.
President,
Councilman Brewer.
one last thing for me for Special and Select. I want to just bring to everyone's attention that there will be a snow plan meeting this Thursday, November the 4th at 1 p.m. inside the chambers, where we will be discussing the snow plan for the city of Gary. Council members can come down or tune into Zoom. You're welcome to that meeting also.
Much as we don't want to think about it, I guess it's inevitable, right?
It's coming sooner or later.
The snow is coming. Thank you, Councilman Brewer. Other members for Special and Select?
Mr. President,
Councilman Lay.
on the 31st of October, the First Church of God under the leadership of Reverend Jacqueline Drago Hunter, she's senior pastor, named Orville Norton, Man of the Year. And I guess we could also use him. He apparently raised $30,000 to fix the roof at the church. So I thought that was worth mentioning. Across the street from Fire Station number 2, which is 1640 Adams, Councilwoman Ty Atkins and myself are working to see about getting a fence put around that location, which would be a cost of approximately $24,000. It's a children's park that is being maintained by members of that fire station. It's a very attractive park. It appears that I may get $500. It appears now, they haven't awarded it, from the Horizon Bank to put Christmas lights out there to fix that up. So that would be something that would, I think, bring joy and pleasure to the immediate community if that was done with that park. I also knew Attorney Collins quite well, and I certainly was sorry to hear he passed. As far as I know, he was also the attorney for the fire. It's not the union, but it's like the retirement group. I forgot what the name of that group is. And I worked with Attorney Moody when I was on that original elected school board. She was the president for the school board, so they both have certainly my condolences, and I wish the family be blessed in the future. Now, I also attended that fireman's affair, and I really was impressed by it. I just simply thought it was outstanding. I didn't realize I knew as many members of the fire department as I know. I think somebody cracked the joke about me that Mr. Brewer seemed to wanted to repeat it time and time again. I'm not sure. I didn't hear it, but I think Councilwoman Ty Atkins may have laughed too. So I'd like to know what they said. I tried to figure out something that was said by, matter of fact, he was former, I think, chief of the fire department. Donnie was. He's part of the Fabulous King. But I really enjoyed it. I mean, it really was a nice affair, and those awards, I've never seen anything given out like they gave to the retirees. They were very, very costly. And I did have a very long conversation with Larry Tillman. Matter of fact, I may have made a friend there. When I first went, I thought they were going to badger me about how I had previously voted, but oddly enough, no one raised anything, and so that was surprising. But they didn't raise anything. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President,
Councilman Lay, Councilman Brown.
that affair Saturday for the firemen was outstanding. Donnie Williams used to be fire chief, and he still plays. He still plays an instrument, plays for the band for the fire department. He played on Saturday, did an outstanding job. It was great, had an excellent time. And the awards that they gave to the firemen were just, it was amazing, the awards that they gave with the axe. I guess they were axes that were on them. And it was beautiful. So I was there. I enjoyed it as well. It was just a wonderful affair. And Donnie, you know, as I said, used to be fire chief, and he is still playing for the fire department. Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilwoman Brown, other members, your special select. All right. Just quickly, I got my booster today at the Gary Health Department. It was great, good experience. Took Moderna. We have all three available: Moderna, Pfizer, J&J. I encourage all citizens to go to the Gary Health Department Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday. They're doing it at that location at this moment, but please go and get your booster shot, and encourage others to do the same so that we can, at some point, get beyond this COVID-19 pandemic. Just wanted to put that plug out. They're doing a fantastic job over at the Gary Health Department. If there's no other special and select, we'll now move to council pending ordinances and resolutions on third and final.
CPO 2021-77, an ordinance amending Article 8, Section 105-432 regarding contractors' licenses. Sponsored by Mayor Dwayne Prince, City of Gary, Mayor Trent A. McCain, City of Gary.
President,
Yes, Councilman Brewer.
I move that we take CPO. Mr. President, I move that we take CPO 2021-77 back to committee November 9th at 5 p.m.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any questions or discussion? I know we also have a couple other things on November 9th, right? Now we have the planning and development. I know that
I was looking, nothing came up on my calendar for it.
I thought that we had the, maybe I'm incorrect about that. At some point, maybe we got rescheduled because I thought we talked about having the project development agreement for Fulcrum. I believe that was postponed to committee, or did we just postpone it to the next council meeting?
I don't have it in the calendar.
Okay.
It must not be entered yet.
Maybe it's not, but I thought that we had done that. We'll go with it for now. And maybe it was moved on the calendar.
Okay.
Do you know when the next hearing is for the Fulcrum project development agreement?
No, I don't.
Okay. I thought it was the 9th because we were then going to vote on it for the 16th. And I think their deadline for financing was like the 18th or 19th.
Okay.
But I could be wrong about that meeting cadence. Unless someone else.
Well, Mr. President.
We'll go with it and make adjustments as necessary.
And as long as we have it posted in a timely fashion, we can still have a meeting in committee.
All right. It's been moved and properly seconded to move CPO 2021-77 back to the planning and development committee with a committee meeting on November 9th at 5:00 p.m. Any questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Brewer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell, Councilman Lay,
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon,
Yes.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
and President Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 9-0.
With a vote of 9-0, CPO 2021-77 is moved back to the Planning and Development Committee.
CPO 2021-83, an ordinance for the city of Gary, Lake County, Indiana, authorizing additional appropriations for the American Rescue Plan Act, Fund 176 for the payment of 2020 premium pay, eligible public safety payroll expenses, and provision of government services. Sponsored by Mayor Jerome A. Prince, City of Gary, Malik Harper, City Controller.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Atkins.
I move for passage of CPO 2021-83.
Second.
Moved by Councilman Atkins and seconded by Councilwoman Brown. We have the overview at this time, Attorney Colvin.
Yes, sir. CPO 2021-83 is an additional appropriation ordinance where American Rescue Plan Act funds are being appropriated for the following purposes or to the following funds. Department 0192 Public Safety Payroll in the amount of $2,838,382. Department 091 Public Safety Fire, $2,838,382. Premium pay, $3,240,041, and provision of government services, $2,491,356. The payroll for public safety, we're going to be paying a 50% or a certain portion, I'll say, since it's 2021 dollars of the payroll for public safety, police and fire, and moving those dollars to the general fund, to the art fund, so that we can free up money to the general fund. Likewise, for the provision of government services, we'll be moving the expenses for the balance of the year for insurance costs and freeing up the dollars in the general fund so that they can be used for another purpose. And of course, appropriating dollars in premium pay for public safety and other individuals, other employees who actually came into direct contact with COVID or had a hazard, came to contact of the hazards for COVID. So I'm asking that this be approved.
Thank you, Attorney Colvin. Questions from council members?
Mr. President,
Councilman Lay?
Attorney Colvin, could you break that down? How much is that per, is this where the $5,000 comes in?
Yes, the firemen and policemen will receive $5,000 for work from 2020. And the other individuals, other employees who worked, who came into contact with COVID or COVID materials will receive, and these are civilians, will receive $3,000.
And how long will that last?
This is a payment for 2020.
No, but I thought it was multi-year was going to take place.
The appropriation that we're bringing is only for 2020.
It's only for 2020.
So if for future or for additional years, we come back for another appropriation.
Okay. When would they get this money into payroll?
We're trying to get it for the next pay, but for sure. And I'm gonna let Mr. Harper say it because he's the controller.
President Godwin, thank you. All right, so once this ordinance is approved, I'm going to push hard to make sure that the premium pay is issued by the next payroll.
Oh, and I need to say one other thing I forgot. Since this is an additional appropriation, this does have to be approved by the state. So there's a 15-day gap there before we can actually begin to process this.
So after we pass it, we must wait 15 additional days and then it could go. So we may be shooting for something prior to January 1 then.
For sure in the month of December.
Now, if they fail to act, we can treat it as if it was a positive action. Isn't that the way that goes?
Generally, this is a very perfunctory approval. As long as you've met the publication requirements, and as long as you actually had the funds, they don't deny them, not historically.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Lay. Other council members have questions or discussion?
Mr. President.
Councilman Weatherspoon.
Yeah, this is for Mr. Harper. Mr. Harper, is this going to be, is this pay going to be in increments, or is it going to be the full 5,000, at one time? And also my other question is, with it coming from the Fed, this money is also taxed, correct?
Yes, it will be coming from the, it will be one payment of the $5,000. And it will be coming from the ARPA account and paid out of ADP.
It's tax assisted. I'm sorry, Mr. President, that's okay. It's tax assisted. So the 5,000 is the net that they will receive.
That's correct. And I know we had talked about doing another payment out of the remainder of the funds. We'll see about that. I know that was discussed when we last talked about this with the police and fire and internally. So we would probably be looking to do something similar next year out of the next tranche. Any other questions or discussion?
Yeah.
Councilman Brown?
Thank you. From a payroll perspective, is this going to be a totally separate check, or would be included in their normal bi-weekly salary? Would that all be added one time, or will it be separate as far as payment goes for the employees?
Yes, this would be a separate check because the normal payroll checks are tax deducted. This amount will be grossed up and tax deducted separately.
Mr. President.
Councilman Lay?
Yeah, I forgot that. Will there, if a person, let's say, is being left out and they want to challenge or say that they should have been included, how do they do that?
They need to contact a controller and we'll look into their circumstances.
So anyone that felt they should have been included, and will they know prior to will there be any kind of posting of names, or will they just have to wait until they get
their department is actually providing the controller with the listing of eligible employees. So that if that person's name is not on the list, then that's something that Mr. Harper and their department head can consult about and get corrected if it needs to be.
So is the department head permitted to tell that person they're on the list?
Yes.
So they would have a way of knowing that they're on the list prior to the, like they wanted to know tomorrow were they included on the list, they could make that inquiry.
They could.
Oh, that means people are going to make the inquiry, I show you. Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Let me ask a quick couple questions. So if, for example, we have 493 employees, mostly FTEs, who are covered under this. If there's less employees, I think we're only giving this to people who are currently employed with us. If there's less people who are funded, what happens to the balance of the dollars?
It will stay in that fund and we can use them for offset our next premium pay payment that we make. But I forgot to say that if you retired last year, you're also eligible.
Gotcha.
As long as you worked at least 80% of the year.
Thank you. This is from March 2020 to December 2020.
Right.
Well, this is great. And I know that our, not only police and fire, but general services and folks throughout government, building department, public works, Gary Sanitary District, recycling, courts, park, clerk staff, health department will gladly receive these dollars. They work so hard, and we're trying our best to show the love back and to appropriately compensate and give back to those who allow this city to move forward and for us to function. So I think this is a great way. It's very clearly established in the interim rule that this is one of the key ways that these funds were intended to be used in the first place. So if there's no other questions or discussion, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Brewer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown. Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell. Councilman Lay,
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon,
Yes.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
and President Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. President, vote is 9-0.
For the vote of 9-0, CPO 2021-83 passes and is so ordered.
Mr. President, as pending ordinances and resolutions on third and final reading.
If you're not speaking, please mute. Okay. All right, at this time we'll have council pending ordinances and resolutions on second reading.
CPO 2021-84, an ordinance amending Title 15 entitled Land Usage, Chapter 123 entitled Zoning Code of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Gary, Indiana, for the property located at 4921 through 31 West Fifth Avenue. Petitioner Robert Drain, property at 4921 through 31 West Fifth Avenue, Gary, Indiana. CPO 2021-85, an ordinance amending Title 15 entitled Land Usage, Chapter 123 entitled Zoning Code of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Gary, Indiana, for the property located at 2768 Colfax Street. Petitioner Amelia Tofalo, property at 2768 Colfax Street, Gary, Indiana.
Councilman Brewer.
Mr. President, CPO 2021-84 and CPO 2021-85 is both going back to committee for second reading. That will be November the 9th at 5 p.m.
Been moved and properly seconded. Any questions or discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Brewer.
just also want to note for just scheduling purposes, there is also a public safety meeting scheduled at 6 p.m. also too, along with the one for Folsom will also be at 5 o'clock meeting also.
Yes. It's gonna be a long night.
It was already scheduled. 5
Are there any other questions or discussion? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Brewer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell. Councilman Lay. Councilman Lay,
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon,
Yes.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
and President Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 9-0.
With a vote of 9-0, CPO 20, are you able to hear me? If you're not, okay. CPO 2021-84 and CPO 2021-85 passed on second reading with a planning and development meeting to be held on Tuesday, November 9th at 5 o'clock p.m. via Zoom.
Mr. President,
Councilman Lay?
I don't know the orders, but you were right. The job of this $650 million project should be for the, Mr. Brewer's committee on the 9th, so we can pass it on the 16th if we pass it, and so that they can take action on the 18th. So what you said was correct. I'm not sure why it's not there that way.
Right, and so it's in the minutes, and so our staff is gonna need to add that to the calendar. It's gonna be a long evening, but yes, I double checked the minutes. I thought I was right about it. And so we're gonna have to do them all at that 5 o'clock session.
Yes.
And public safety will likely be delayed, and so what we may do, we have sufficient time to change the notice.
Yes.
To just go ahead and make that 7 o'clock as opposed to 6. But we can deal with that between now, as long as we have the 2 days. Thank you, Councilman Lay. All right, we'll proceed now with the second reading.
CPO 2021-86, an ordinance by the Gary Common Council establishing a holiday schedule for the city of Gary in calendar year 2022, sponsored by members of the Gary Common Council.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Brown.
I move for passage of CPO 2021-86 with the Finance Committee meeting on Tuesday, November 9th at 5:00 p.m.
I don't think we can do that because we also have the planning and development at 5 o'clock p.m.
Oh.
May I ask this, is this something, I know we need to make some changes, Councilman Lay pointed those out. Is this something you'd be willing to consider on all 3 readings? So
We have normally in the past just done the schedule. And we have not had a community, committee meeting. So
let's do that, if you don't mind, Madam Chair.
No, I don't mind.
Okay, so you're moving to suspend the rules and consider CPO 2021-86 on all 3 readings?
Yes.
Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions or discussion? And again, this is just to hear it on all 3 readings. I know we got to make some substantive changes.
Yes.
All right. Any questions or discussion? Okay, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Brewer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell, Councilman Lay,
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon,
Yes.
Councilman Williams,
Yes.
and President Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 9-0.
With a vote of 9-0, CPO 2021-86 will be heard on all 3 readings. Now is it your pleasure, Madam Chair, to move for passage of CPO 2021-86?
Mr. President, I move for passage of CPO 2021-86 on all 3 readings.
Been moved by Councilwoman Brown and seconded by Councilwoman Barnes Caldwell. I suppose it's sponsored by the Common Council, so I'll do the overview. We, at the prompting actually of a member of the police department that wanted to know when they could take holidays, I said, we're supposed to do this. We were late on doing it last year, but I'm glad we were able to get it on the agenda this evening. Councilman Lay, can you reiterate those corrections you suggested?
Yeah, the new, at the very bottom, it says New Year Eve, Monday, January the 2nd, 2023. That should be 2022. I'm assuming the January 2nd is correct. And then the next line is New Year's Eve day. It says 2023 should be 2022. And Tuesday, the 3rd, should read 2022. So anywhere 2023 is there should be stricken, and we should insert 2022.
Sorry, I think I'm with you on, if I may, New Year's Day will be January 2nd of 2023.
Two.
It's 23, Councilman Ray. Look at the top of your ordinance. We have the 2022 dates. Monday, January 3rd, 2022. So this-
Oh, I see. This is for, oh, we going into another year. Okay, I
Yes, sir.
apologize. I didn't see it that way. Okay, then.
So I
Very good.
think what's
President,
gonna
if I
happen
may?
is, yes, Councilman Atkins.
I would like to make an amendment for consideration for New Year's Eve to do that one Friday, the 30th, 2022, and then observe New Year's Day for Monday, January 2nd, 2023.
So Friday, December 30th of 2022, and then New Year's Day out will be on Monday, January 2nd.
For consideration.
Yes. For Monday, January 2nd of 2023.
Mr. President, when you look at that last,
President, we having problem with hearing. Let's get the audio right.
Right, so I think someone needs to mute. Okay,
there you go.
okay, all right.
If you look at the calendar, I'm not sure if it will make sense now. Because you.
I think the space bar.
Let's see.
Mr. President,
Councilman Lay?
why are we doing 2023 at all? I didn't.
I think so that people can plan, because it kind of gets, that New Year's Day, people tend to want to plan for the balance of the whole year. Please mute if you're not speaking.
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so.
I'm sorry, Mr. President.
Councilman Atkins.
I just wanted you to look at it. It's back off. Please don't mute her. Mute yourself, mute yourself. Now you mute yourself, Councilwoman. Okay, now you good to go. You good? Okay. Okay, all right. So I don't know about that suggestion that I just made, Mr. President, because we already have that Monday, the December 26th and 27th off. So it'll be like, okay, I have to work Wednesday, Thursday, and I'm off Friday, Monday. So maybe it would just make sense to leave it how it is.
So let me just, is the HR director on? I'd like for her to talk about what past practice has been, or maybe Attorney Colvin.
I'm on.
That's why we eliminated the one holiday, what, Patrick Day, St. Patrick's Day. That's why we eliminated that day. Columbus Day. I'm sorry, I'm saying St. Patrick's Day. Columbus Day. That's why we did that. So now I'm not sure what it is you want to do.
Well, let me ask Attorney. I think people should have as many holidays as possible. That's my personal opinion, but I'm certainly not opposed to it being self-employed. Every day is a holiday unless I don't want it to be. So I think workers deserve to have that. Look, we don't pay $1 million. So this is a benefit that doesn't cost us a whole lot. I know we had this conversation last year, but Attorney Colvin?
Generally, whenever the actual holidays fall on the weekend, we always take either the day before or the day after as the observed holiday. In this particular case, I think these holidays fall on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken. And because the Christmas Eve, and New Year's Eve, which is also a holiday, falls on a weekend, we always took the Friday for that one and the Monday for the other. So that's how we generally done it. I understand though what Councilwoman Atkins was saying though about, but they've generally done it that way, Fridays and Mondays. But it's up to the council, of course.
Right. I think it's a good thing to give people, listen, time with their friends, family, what have you. They work very hard. I don't think it's going to kill us to do it. That's my personal opinion. Other council members have questions or discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Brewer?
I do support that Monday being off. If you give an extra day, you have to consider there's a significant amount of overtime that's now given because you basically have made that a holiday. If you're giving everyone else a day off, you're gonna have to compensate someone else to work that day that you would basically use as a holiday. So definitely your police and fire are just two of the main two groups that will definitely have to be on as overtime groups, and that can affect the overall general fund budget. So just want to consider that when we give extra days.
I remember that discussion last year.
Yeah.
We talked about it. I don't know whether Chief Evans, I don't know if Chief O'Donnell is on, but I'd like to hear their opinion about how they handle the scheduling, what the impact may be. And Attorney Copeland, you might, Mr. Harper also have some insight on that. We can't hear you. So if you're not, please mute if you're not, the people can't hear because it's showing multiple people speaking.
Okay.
So if you're not speaking, please mute. Don't come up to you. Yeah, that's just it. Yeah, once you press the button, it just hits the mute button. I think that's third. It's all right. Chief Evans.
Yes, so last year we handled we have, with our officers who are working holidays, what we do is if you're scheduled to work, what we will do is provide you with compensatory time, comp time for the hours you work since you weren't able to participate in the holidays. We still respond to calls. For those officers who are scheduled off, they're just off. So we do one of those two things when it comes to a holiday so that we won't fall short of our manpower or our responsibilities. If that was your question, I hope I understood what you were saying.
It is in part, and I guess the other part of it is the cost. Like what is and that may be a question for the controller or Attorney Colvin, what is the dollar cost, or is there a dollar cost? Because I'm sure some people would just be scheduled if they don't have seniority to work.
If you're working a 4 and 2 schedule in any division, which means you work 4 days on and 2 days off, which about 50% of the department does, then if you're off, you're off. If you're working, you get that 8 hours of compensatory time. If you're working a 5 and 2, which is Monday through Friday, and the holiday is on Monday, you get that time off, and the costs come on the back end, and it varies. Some officers take their compensatory time around vacation time or within the year, and some of us bank it until retirement for payout. You have a certain amount of hours that you can bank, and then when we get ready to retire, we either expend them then or we're paid out for them. So I think the cost can vary, but maybe the comptroller can answer, or you can answer a little bit better than I can.
Thank you, Chief Evans. Mr. Harper?
Yeah, so, and it's just my understanding, I come from where it was only 11 days that you had per year, and you have 13 listed here for the year 2022. Normally what happens is you do have an increase in overtime and double time the more holidays you select. So with my experience, it may not be much of an impact as far as outside of police and fires, so to speak, but in the general services and things like that, you're still going to have an increase in overtime for those dates. So it would be, I can't give you a number on it, but it will be an increased amount the more holidays you put in.
And this year, we've had the same number of holidays, correct? So the same we're proposing for next year is what we did this year.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
it didn't bankrupt the city. I mean, we were able to function. I don't think we've even used all of our overtime by far.
No, that's
Attorney
correct.
Colvin, did you want, like you about to respond, and then Councilman Brewer?
I was just going to say that this happens kind of every year whenever a holiday comes at the end of the week. And so it's not uncommon for this kind of issue to come up. But as Mr. Harper said, there is an impact for overtime, but it's not astronomical.
All right, Councilman Brewer?
Mr. President, I do want to advise us that we are still running a deficit because we do have a little money around. We're not out the woods. And if we do increase an extra day and say we have some type of snowstorm and things of that nature and the individual have to come in, that is a issue where overtime is also given to general service or whatever department that we may need to come in and assist on the day. This is our winter month, so we have to consider that also. But as you probably can tell, I'm not for an additional day because it is an incurred cost. We may not see it because they get it. And I know the sound is terrible for people at home. I do apologize. We need everyone to mute because we're getting a lot of negative comments about our sound.
I don't think they're leaving. I think somebody's hitting the one. But yeah, once you hit it, you can't touch it anymore.
Okay. All right.
Don't touch it.
So it's either or. Either you hit it with your space bar or the mouse. So hit it with your mouse.
So what I was saying was, it may not seem like a big impact now, but when police, as the chief stated, was police and firemen get ready, well, talk about police, because the police chief was on, as they get ready to retire, they can bank those comp times. And even individuals can use those comp times when they do go on vacation for extra time off and things of that nature. Someone has to fill that gap. So you're paying overtime to someone to fill those numbers when we already know we having a manpower shortage in that department when we just speak of police by itself.
Yes, I would just ask the question. This is the same schedule we have this year. So we should know what the cost of it is or what the projected cost of it is. So it's the same number of days, is that correct? Or is it not? All right, so the same thing we did last year, we're proposing to do this year. Or same thing we did this year, we're proposing to do next year. So if there's what was the financial hit this year?
President Godwin?
Yes, Mr. Harper.
That would be something I would have to pull up because I don't have that ready in front of me. So I can pull it up and respond to you by email or the entire council by email.
Okay. Councilman Brown?
Thank you, Mr. President. I was looking at Attorney Colvin regarding the Friday, Monday, and I saw we could actually do a 12/23, which would be a Friday, 24 Saturday, 25 Sunday, and be closed to 26 Monday. Right? And we could close on 30th, which is a Friday, 31st, which is Saturday, Sunday, 1st, third, Monday, 2nd, be back to work Tuesday, 3rd.
Okay, so Christmas Day is what day is Christmas? Is that correct?
25th.
It's not the 27th. Okay. Yeah. Right. So you're saying close on Friday, the 23rd.
Right. Come back on the 27th. Close the 30th, which is Friday, and come back on the third. It'll be closed from Friday to Monday. I mean, it'll be closed Friday. Come back over to.
Okay, make sure we got this clear. Christmas Eve will be recognized on Friday, December 23rd. And Christmas Day will be recognized on Monday, December 26th. Is that what we're saying?
Right.
Okay, then New Year's Eve will be recognized on Friday, December 30th.
Right.
Okay, and then New Year's Day on Monday, January 2nd.
Yeah.
2023. Okay. Right. So is that a motion to amend in that regard, Councilman Brown?
Mr. President, I make a motion to amend what Councilman Brown just said about those dates. Yeah.
All right, thank you. It's been moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Brewer,
No.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell,
Yes.
Councilman Lay,
You're muted.
No.
Councilman Weatherspoon,
No.
Councilman Williams, Councilman Williams,
I guess we need to move forward.
okay, President Godwin.
Yes.
The vote is 5 yes, 3 no's.
For the vote of 5 to 3, CPO 2021-86 is amended as stated. Is there a motion to pass CPO 2021-86 as amended?
Mr. President, I move to pass CPO 2021-81 as amended.
That's 86.
86 as amended.
That's right. It's been moved. Is there a second?
Yes. Okay.
And seconded by Councilman Brown and Councilwoman Atkins. Any questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Brewer,
No.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell,
Yes.
Councilman Lay,
No.
Councilman Weatherspoon,
No.
Councilman Williams, President Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 5 yes, 3 no's.
With a vote of 5 to 3, CPO 2021-86 as amended passes and is so ordered. Please proceed with the assignment of council pending ordinances and resolutions on second reading.
CPO 2021-87, an ordinance approving a transfer of funds within Fund 101-601 for the purpose of payment of employee bonuses. Sponsored by Mayor Jerome Prince, City of Gary, Malik Harper, City Controller.
Councilman Brown,
Oh, it's mine, Mr. President.
That's hers.
is that 2021?
That's Ways and Means.
Okay, it's out of order now. I'm sorry. Councilman Atkins.
You're right, because we have a resolution.
Right. I guess we'll come back to the CPR 2021-14.
Okay.
We'll proceed with the one
Would you
that
like
we
for me to
just
read
read.
both Ways and Means together?
Sure, yes.
CPO 2021-88, an ordinance for the City of Gary, Lake County, Indiana, authorizing additional appropriations for the American Rescue Plan Act Fund 176 for payment of 2020 premium pay for certain Gary Sanitary District employees. Sponsored by Mayor Jerome Prince, City of Gary, Malik Harper, City Controller.
Mr. President,
Councilman Atkins.
I move the passage of the following ordinance numbers, CPO 2021-787 and CPO 2021-88. on second reading with the committee hearing set for Tuesday, November the 9th at, so missing on 7 p.m.
I think the public safety is gonna end up being at 7. So maybe 8.
Okay, so let me restate it. So for a committee hearing set for Tuesday, November the 9th at 8 p.m. And our public hearing will take place on Tuesday, November the 16th at 6 p.m. via Zoom. That is the motion.
Been moved and properly seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing and hearing none, roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins,
Yes.
Councilman Brewer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown,
Yes.
Councilman Brown,
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell, Councilman Lay,
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon,
Yes.
Councilman Williams, President Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. President, the vote is 8-0.
With a vote of 8-0, CPO 2021-87 and CPO 2021-88 passed on second reading with a Ways and Means Committee meeting to be held on Tuesday, November 9th at 8 p.m. and a public hearing on Tuesday, November 16th at 6 p.m.
CPR,
Councilman Atkins.
My apologies, Madam Clerk, but before we go to the next one, I just want to state for the record that CPO 2021-81 will also be on the agenda for the Ways and Means Committee meeting that was set for 8 p.m. November 9th. And that is for our office staff to note that as well.
Right. Thank you. Please proceed.
CPR 2021-14, a resolution for the city of Gary, Lake County, Indiana, approving prior year adjustments to reconcile certain fund ledger balances and bank statements. Sponsored by Mayor Jerome A. Prince, City of Gary, Malik Harper, City Controller.
Thank you. Councilwoman Brown.
On second reading.
Okay, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved by Councilwoman Brown and seconded by Councilman Brewer. Just for my recollection, what was the date for that meeting?
You know what? I don't know what the dates are. I don't know what the dates and times are. We've got the dates and times so messed up.
Let's do it for, yeah, let's do 6:30. Well, we have a 5 o'clock. I don't think that's gonna be done by 5:30. Right. And I was trying to move public safety to 7 because I didn't think we were gonna be done with all this. Okay, so maybe 6:30.
6:30.
November 9th.
Okay.
It should take.
6:30 on the 9th.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, my motion is for 6:30 on November 9th.
Been moved and there was who seconded? Councilman Brewer. All right, any other questions or discussion?
Mr. President,
Councilman Lay?
at some point, I think we are probably going to have to consider 2 days for these committee meetings. You know, when we go on into the night, I mean, it don't really bother me. I don't have much else to do. I mean, it's just too much to handle properly. So our agenda is just full. So we may have to go to a Thursday or Wednesday, or something like that.
I totally understand. I know what we tried to do is to just work with, all of us have all these meetings, community meetings, and it just becomes an ordeal once we start having multiple nights a week. So I do take that under advisement. But sometimes people kind of book Tuesdays to have that free. And then when we start doing a Wednesday or Thursday, it begins to run into conflicts. But I think we do need to have to narrow this agenda as much as we can, or do consider exactly what you're saying. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Atkins.
Yes.
Councilman Brewer.
Yes.
Councilwoman Brown.
Yes.
Councilman Brown.
Yes.
Councilwoman Caldwell. Yes. Councilman Lay.
Yes.
Councilman Weatherspoon.
Yes.
Councilman Williams. President Godwin.
Yes.
Mr. President, vote is 8-0.
With a vote of 8-0, CPR 2021-14 passes on second reading with a Finance Committee meeting to be held on Tuesday, November 9th at 6:30 p.m. and a public hearing on Tuesday, November 16th at 6 o'clock p.m.
Mr. President, is pending ordinance and resolutions on second reading.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, we'll have our mayor's update.
Good evening, President Godwin and members.
You know what?
Members of the council. There is no mayor's report this evening.
Thank you, Attorney McCain. Any questions or discussion for Attorney McCain or for other members of the administration who are on this evening? Let me just say,
Mr. President,
Councilman Brewer.
I don't want to speak behind you. I'll just say, we're supposed to open up the chambers at the next council meeting, and to whatever number you decide, I'll go along with that. But I want to make sure that we have this audio correct. Getting a lot of comments from the public saying about how our audio sounds, and there's a lot of information that is trying to go out to the public, but we're getting a lot of feedback. So I want to meet with our audio team from the council and also the team for the administration to help us figure out the system where we can deliver a proper service to the people at home that's not able to come. And basically, you're going to cap it off at a certain number that's going to be here anyway. So we still got to deliver this message out to the people. So I want to make sure we can meet with the audio team to get us a system in here where we can develop a good system to the public. Because it's not fair for them to sit at home to hear this. I'm playing it on device here on the side, so I kind of hear some things that what they're hearing, and I'm seeing what they're putting in the chat and things of that nature too. So I want to make sure that we're delivering a good audio service to the public that's at home.
I agree 110%. The key issue here is muting. So if you're not speaking, you have to remain muted. And that cuts that out. I know some of these ear pieces that we have, like mine has a terrible echo in it. You're probably doing it right now. So,
and there's a lot of information that is trying to go out to the public.
To help in that regard. Councilman Weatherspoon.
Yeah, Councilman Godwin brought up a good point here. He just kind of alluded to it a little bit, and that we are going back into the chambers at our next meeting. Will we be establishing some type of a protocol, whereas those that can enter the council chambers that are vaccinated, do not have to wear masks, those that are not? Will we be taking temperature scans at the door? Are we putting any protocols in place before going back in?
My position on it now, if you could please mute, because basically we can't hear. If the media team could please mute all other speakers and just don't touch your computer so that we can get through this. All right, now just don't touch your computers if you may. So the plan is this, is to have up to 10 persons. They will need to wear their mask. I don't believe that we have the authority in this state to start, determining who's vaccinated and not vaccinated. My presumption is that all are not vaccinated. And so they would have to wear their mask. I want to limit it in this first week to 10 people who will sit every other pew in terms of public comment, unless I'm overruled. My suggestion is that folks from the public will have an opportunity prior to our voting on third and final to make a comment up to 2 minutes on any ordinance that we have on the agenda, and any other thoughts germane to government that they would like to share. We will not have public comment after every single ordinance, but they will have access to the agenda, and they'll be able to comment on anything that we do before we begin to vote on it. That's my suggestion, unless we want to be here until 2 in the morning. It's already 8:45 with no public comment. So that's my suggestion. If I'm overruled, won't be the first time, and we will proceed. Councilman Lake?
Mr. President.
Yes.
Sorry.
On the 10 people that are being admitted, I agree with you. They need to wear masks. We don't have to get that. I also believe that we should take temperature. That we certainly, if somebody's temperature is just simply out of line, we should also write down their names. I'm using an example of what when I attend various churches, they take down your name. We only talk about 10 people. Although you may also need to take the temperature of the council itself when it enters the room, to be fair to the public. How will the 10 people, we don't want 35 people rushing and then they get to argue about who was number 10. How is that determined? Do they pre-register in some kind of way?
I want it to be first come, first serve. I'm a little concerned about pre-registration given the limited information channels and access that people may have to pre-register.
Okay.
And it's we're going to learn as we do this.
Yes.
And so I think after the first couple of sessions through trial and error, we will make adjustments. I certainly agree on the temperature piece. We have the machinery to do that. I am going to ask our attorney to make sure. I know Indiana has created a lot of interesting laws about what we can and can't do when it comes to COVID protocols. So I want to make sure whatever we do is compliant, right? And it's something that we're able to do. And if someone does test over a certain temperature, what does that look like, right? Do we remove them? Do we, so we need to make sure whatever we do is legal. And I would ask Attorney Williams to basically prepare a memo of what he believes is, legal for us to do, and maybe even look at what some of the other councils who've been meeting in person for longer during COVID are doing, just to look at best practices. But I think at a base level, having the temperature check is fair. The question becomes what's permissible for us to do if the temperature is over a certain number. I don't know. I don't know whether there's restrictions on removing people from meetings based on temperature or what have you.
Mr. President.
Councilman Lay.
Okay, I don't see, we don't have to remove. I don't know how they're allowed to enter. Someone, in other words, we should stop the 11th person downstairs. Somebody, in other words, they don't have to be at the council door. They got to enter a single door. Their temperature would be taken there. And again, I'm not at all concerned with the law. If a person's temperature is bad, that person is not admitted. We got to protect the public. So maybe there is 100, you can't come in. Well, I think we should certainly decide that to protect the general public. But that should be downstairs where the security, I haven't been in a while, but there used to be a security guard and you enter downstairs. That's where the 10th person, the 11th person should be stopped. Now, let me ask a question about this 11th person. Does that include the staff of the city that we want there? How do they get there?
I would say it does not include them. I think we want a max of no more than 25 people in the chamber altogether, including council persons and council staff. The meetings will continue to be hybrid based on the ordinance we passed earlier this year. Just 5 council members have to be present. The others, as we said, can miss a meeting. They need to just let the president know that they're going to be absent in writing. And I think there's a rule about how many of those meetings you can miss.
Mr. Chair?
Attorney Williams?
Yes, but there's no need to implement that yet. We're still under the governor's emergency order.
Right.
As long as you're under the order, there's no need to implement the ordinance that you adopted. That would only come in effect after the order's been lifted.
Correct. And so I agree with Councilman Lay on, establishing the 10 persons, the 10 non-government employees at the door and capping it at 25 per persons total within the chamber, including council members. I think that will work for us. Again, this is going to be trial and error. And what I want to do is to assess how it works at the next council meeting. And then when we get into December, make adjustments as needed. I would like to make sure I get a good sound legal opinion about turning away people regarding temperatures. I don't want to be in the news.
Should that come from the health commissioner? I know I'm interrupting you now. Please forgive me, but the health commissioner should. I'm not sure a legal opinion.
Well, I want a legal opinion that's the power of the health commissioner, right? And so, if in fact in this present environment under the emergency orders, the health commissioner can rule that people can't enter the council chamber, including council members whose temperature is over a certain degree, I'm fine with that. I just want to see where that's legal for the health commissioner to do that. And if that's the protocol, that's fantastic. But I just want a legal opinion about what that protocol should be. In terms of
I don't have an issue. I don't have an issue with providing you that. I believe you may already have it in the current emergency order. The governor has left those decisions to your local health commissioners. That's already articulated in the order. But I will do whatever legal research I can to see if there has ever been a certain number like 101 temperature. I'm not aware of that. I know everybody uses these temperature machines, the courts do, but I'm oblivious to what number triggers you're not being able to enter. I will do that research, but I agree with Attorney Lay. The executive order leaves all those decisions to the state and, where applicable, your local health officials.
Okay, that sounds good to me. So then what I'll look to do, if you could get that from the health commissioner, what his order is for how we should handle it. And I'd like that to be in writing, and then we will proceed accordingly.
Mr. President.
All right. Councilman Weatherspoon?
Yeah, just one other thing also, to the point, that Attorney Williams was raising. It is typically 100 degrees. If a person's temperature is over 100, they typically are not admitted into, facilities, jobs, things of that nature. But my point right now, one other thing that I think that we need to consider also, after the council meeting, we have to consider cleaning of the chambers, because we're having people come in, we're having the general public come in. We have to consider a routine cleaning of the chambers, and I'm not exactly sure how, the staff does that, what they exactly use. Do they wipe down benches? Exactly what they do. But that needs to be considered after each and every meeting, that we have some type of formulated routine cleaning set up for the chambers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Councilman Lay?
following up on Councilman Witherspoon, I don't believe the staff can do that. In other words, there are people that do that. It certainly will cost money, but a person that I certainly know and we could look at would be, as well as I know it, Jerry Heyman certainly could do it. He was going to clean up the club where we function at, but that probably should be an ongoing thing done with the council chambers. You remember earlier we got in a discussion with the mayor whether he could come down there and hold a meeting as opposed to in his area. So I think we should look at doing that, you know, for the sake of safety, because if something should occur, that will certainly upset how we use the facility. So I think,
Mr. Heyman.
yeah, well, I just happen to know him. He's a friend now. So I don't have it. I believe he would do a good job, but that should be
antibacterial.
That should be looked at. And it may be something, Mr. President, as long as the person is certified. I don't know what the cost would be. It probably is something you could do without, without a big fanfare. So if nothing else, you could talk to him and anyone else that you would know that would be certified. And they probably should do it if we're going to have people in there, although they've been in there, the 5 of you, whatever the number is, have been in there. It should even be cleaned up for your sake as well as the staff and the council. So that would be something we need to look at.
Well, I agree. I mean, last week we had new police recruits that were sworn in by the Public Works Commission, right? 4 weeks ago, the mayor had a community meeting in here. So we've definitely had people throughout City Hall and throughout that, and I don't know what particular cleaning is being done that's different from what our regular maintenance personnel provide. So my opinion, we did do some COVID specific cleaning when this first started, 18 months ago, 19 months ago. It was not cheap. And I'm not certain that we will be able to afford in our budget that level of cleaning after every council and or committee meeting, right? Because we're having committee meetings in the chamber as well. So that it was a 4-figure number, close to it, for a COVID sort of, level of cleaning. So I would recommend that again, people are entering City Hall all day, every day, that we follow the same protocol that the executive branch is using for the remainder of City Hall. We're already paying maintenance personnel, that they, clean the chambers as they normally do, but being mindful that there are more people here, there are people sitting in the benches, so they need to clean those areas as well. We don't have anybody meeting in here, which I don't think was ever a great idea, but other various boards and so forth, there's not different people even sitting at these desks to prevent, multiple persons coming in and out and touching things. So I think we should use the maintenance that we have, who are already cleaning the rest of the building, including this chamber. And I'm hopeful that, maybe that's a question for the administration, that they've gotten some level of instruction or access to supplies that will be COVID responsive. Okay.
Mr. President, Mr. President.
Councilman Witherspoon?
Yeah, I think that we should, still look into the costs and not assume. Because, there's equipment such as foggers and things of that nature that may be cost efficient that the last individuals were not using. It's a little different process that, that Mr. Heyman used. He is certified. He's just not coming in with a bottle of Lysol and a roll of paper towel per se. So I think that we should at least consider it, at least get a cost from him, seeing what kind of routine, we could put together, because it may surprisingly be not as expensive as you think.
Well, when we did this, Councilman Witherspoon, I think March or April, last April, we hired a local company. It was a little over $1,000. And, some people blinked at me a couple of times after that. I know we can't afford to do that every week, even $500. That's $24,000 a year. And the rest of the building that people have to enter, including us, I know they're not spending that kind of money in the Gary room or the board room to maintain it. So we have numbers. It was $1,000 for one clinic.
I don't know. I kind of beg to differ, because the process that this individual uses is a little different than the process that was used before. I'm very familiar with what they did before, and it wasn't at all the same process. So again, like I said, it's your prerogative, but I would look into, the actual cost. It doesn't hurt to ask, to find out, to get an estimate, so we'll know exactly what we're dealing with. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, any other questions or discussion? All right, our next council meeting will be on Tuesday, November 16th. It will be hybrid. And if there's nothing else,